Welcome back, Overwatch fans, to another amazing night.
We have a fantastic match tonight, no question about it.
Oh my god, yes!
Look up a run! Make sure they can't even follow up afterwards.
And Wash is down 2 in this fight thus far. Make that 3, make that 4 right now here. Dynamic team gets a 4-man tie.
To find the picks will save the fight, and they don't really need to save what they've already won.
100 gets 3 with the primal rage.
Experience tranquility.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else in between, good evening and welcome back to Tranquility Gaming Season 9 playoff coverage. Tonight, we begin the Transcendence tier playoffs with this week's feature match, where the number 14 seeded Death Cards are trying to keep their season alive against the number 11 seeded Crabby Crabbers. Who will be pitching the final card from the deck and making their way through the lower brackets? There's only one way to find out. My name is Bowsy, and I'm joined here by Thea on the cast, Laggy Son on production, and Unfeatured and Hippie on observing. Thea, how are you doing this fine evening?
I am doing quite well, I guess. A bit scuffed comp games in the afternoon, but then hey, I'm doing pretty well tonight. I hope my team that's currently scrimming, I hope you guys are scrimming, are doing well in their scrims tonight too.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to try to get together here as the playoffs do begin. Looking at our lower bracket here for Transcendence here, you can see the match we currently have Crabby Crabbers versus Death Cards. The loser or the winner of this match will be going on to face off against the loser of the Guangzhou Gangsters versus Classified. The loser goes home and ends their Tranquility season early here. So it's all on the line between both of these teams. And both teams have had very similar seasons throughout, both 3 and 5 in the regular season. It's going to be interesting to see which team comes out on top in this match.
I mean, that's definitely sure. And I know Death Guards is probably on the lower side for, the overall seeding. But, when you're up against number 11, you're number 14, I think that's still an even playing field. So this is really a chance for Death Guards to show that they are still competitive, especially with the latest pickups that they have onto their team in the form of Voltage and Placebo, two very familiar names to the Tranquility scene, with I think Placebo being on Tempest back in, I think it might have been Season 5 or Season 6, right? And Voltage, who has been a stay in decaps for a really significant while.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of these players, obviously a lot of history in Tranquility. Death Cards, of course, being a former House to former Decapitators member, so we'll see they're able to get the victory here in this matchup when it matters the most up against the Crabby Crabbers. Going to be heading into our first map of the day here, and it's going to be Nepal, which was the choice of the higher seed, being the Crabby Crabbers. So we'll see if they're able to get a good start here entering our series here, and if they're going to be having a good start to the series, because again, this match means everything right now to both of these teams' seasons.
I mean, it's not just for them, right? It's not just for these two teams that it's just going to mean a whole lot for them, right? As this current cast is ongoing, you do have all the other Transcendence tier matches that are happening, 2 of which are lower bracket matches whose outcomes really determine who still has a chance to even hit the championship bracket at the end of this slugfest. Do take note because of Catalyst 413 Catalyst dropping out via forfeit. Billings Boomers have gotten the bye and are up for next week's match.
Yeah, absolutely. The number 13 seeded Billings Boomers do have a bye after 413 Catalyst dropped earlier in the week. There were other forfeits as well, which is why you may have seen the seedings be a little bit off on that bracket page that we had showing earlier, but still, there's a lot on the line for multiple teams, more specifically Palm Beach Poggers versus Arctic Foxes and Lijiang Legion versus Frost Fisher. Those matches are going to be determined on who's going to be moving on to the lower bracket and who's being sent home. There are other matches going on. Reckless Sigma versus Amnesia and Guangzhou Gangsters versus Classified are currently also to be confirmed. Those are in the upper bracket. The winner goes on to the semifinals for the upper bracket. The loser comes down to the knockout bracket and has a chance of being eliminated next week. So it's going to be interesting to see what these two teams go for here and how this season is going to go out. This is the final, pretty much like the final chance for every single team to try and make a run, especially those upper bracket teams. You have that extra life. You have a chance to keep making it through the playoffs.
Definitely. And I know those upper bracket, lives really make a difference. I think probably last season we had, I think it was probably Oath who managed to get a spot in Discord here last season.
They did get a spot in the championship bracket last season.
Yeah,
Oath.
yeah.
And I believe they did have an extra life that they were able to make advantage of. So, I mean, Oath came into the season a very rough start for them in stage 1. They were able to get help due to some actions that we don't talk about. They were able to get a 3rd seed in that, so they had an extra life going into the playoffs, and they were able to run it all the way to the championship bracket despite losing a match in the upper bracket. But we have seen situations where a lower bracket team has made it all the way. Battalion back in season 7, for example, had the most miraculous run of any sort of team in Tranquility Gaming playoffs history, especially in this format. They made it all the way to semifinals with 1 single life. So it all could be determining. Anything can happen. The playoffs can throw wrenches into any sort of equation. We'll have to see, as the first map is actually Oasis here, which team's going to be throwing that wrench first.
I mean, the nice thing about Oasis is that you can run a variety, I guess, of compositions, but here begs the question, right? Are you running the composition that, was in the previous OWL meta because we're in the prior OWL patch, or are there teams who are already starting to flex towards the present OWL meta in preparation for a few nerfs that are happening 2 weeks later? And from the looks of it, both teams are coming out with some sort of hybrid, right? Sticking to that Zarya composition on both sides, but the backline completely different. Opting to hold the Kiriko, which means the Suzu 15-second cooldown means you're invulnerable for a short period of time. Your downside, less heals.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see which team is able to get the advantage. Death Cards take the high ground advantage here over the Crabby Crabbers. Crabby Crabbers trying to find the Ram, but Voltage on the Zarya already picks up Iwatoda here on that Zarya. So a very good win here for the side of Death Cards, finding that first pick. And now Voltage just trying to push forward, almost picks out Smackies there on the Kiriko. But it's going to be Death Cards taking the point first, but only that 1 casualty.
1 casualty, it is the Zarya though, so that means your push is inevitably stopped because with a Zarya composition, your Zarya not only acts as a tank, but it's like a huge source of damage. So without the front line, it just makes it so much harder for Crabby Crabbers to sustain, and it's a good job that they waited because they now can re-engage in this next fight.
So now you see, Crabby Crabbers pushing in, but Fine gets picked out here by Orsted. Not a good start for the Crabby Crabbers as they're trying to find some sort of leverage, but Death Cards right now have their number. Voltage gets the kill onto Ice Spirit as well, and it's going to be another reset here for the Crabby Crabbers.
Death Cards really eyeing, the cards of death for Crabby Crabbers. Realizing that Smacks was, away from his team just pressured him right away, and that was an easy pick for them. Then they just collapsed afterwards. Now coming into this next fight, not really any ults on the board. Closest would be the double DPS ults from Death Cards, which, you know, with how quick Charybdis is actually getting the charge and damage, and they should be getting it mid-fight.
We'll see how Charybdis is able to do there on that Sojourn. It takes a bit to pronounce it. You know what doesn't take a bit? Bolted finding another kill. Fine dead once again. Orsted able to get the kill on the Dragon as well. And Death Cards, they're just seeming to steamroll over the Crabby Crabbers right now. There is nothing that the Crabby Crabbers do doing right now in a pinch.
I mean, Fine has definitely not been playing Fine right now, and
No.
you know, it shows with the ult charge. Voltage honestly getting so many of the first picks that they now have, you know, both DPS ults on the board and this grab. Crabby Crabbers, nothing really to answer it. Maybe a Kitsune Rush that Smackies could build up and hopefully re-engage. And Dragon with that really big hit just opens it up for them.
Yeah, and also Charybdis used the overclock, so that ultimate already off the field, but the Death Blossom comes in from Orsted with that Graviton Surge from Voltage, eliminates 4. Dragon will get that overclock shot onto Orsted, but it's all for naught, as 99% on the board. Death Cards will clean sweep Oasis Gardens.
Oh wait, is it pronounced? So it's pronounced as Charybdis.
It should be Charybdis based on history, but yes.
This is how much I haven't been casting Transcendence tier matches. I've literally been casting mostly Harmony and Discord. So
It's
like,
also kind of a bash on the English language in general, that being pronounced like that.
Oh, Charybdis. You know, that's fair. But also, you know, what bastardization of the English language? I don't know. I was planning to make a reference. It totally flew out of my head, but that hasn't flown off our head yet. Is, you know, who's gonna win this match and take it away? Because hey, it's the second round, and coming out, both teams running same compositions, though Crabby Crabbers opting for a different flex support this time. Opting for the Baptiste, realizing that maybe they just need more healing to sustain through all the damage of Death Cards.
We'll definitely see. They also see Fine switching over to the Reaper in this situation, so no more Genji in play, which the Genji didn't seem to really work out here as Death Cards try to make their way through this health pack room. But you already see Fine, that switch working out fine for them. Finds the first pick onto Charybdis here, so Crabby Crabbers already with an advantage, but Bolted is high charged and Ice Spirit gets killed out. Same with Smackies. No supports left for the side of Crabby Crabbers. They need to start finding picks. Iwatsuda able to find the kill on the Placebo here, so Crabby Crabbers might still be into it, but now with Orsted finding the kill onto both DPS, it's going to be the first cap for Death Cards.
First cap for Death Cards. It honestly looked like it would have been in the favor of Crabby Crabbers with Fine getting the first pick, but that wasn't the case. Death Cards have a better understanding of, I guess, target focus and playing as a team, because for a portion of that, the DPS side of Death Cards was just pressuring out, you know, whoever was isolated and split from the team, which, you know, in Overwatch 2, really a great strategy. If you see someone who's caught away and can't regroup with their team, always a good target to go on to, especially if you have speed in. But now we are heading to this mini room for the next fight.
Yeah, as Crabby Crabbers make their way into this mini health pack room, trying to find some sort of pick advantage here, but Death Card's already back outside of it. Fine teleports right in, takes a lot of damage, but doesn't get killed out as Crabby Crabbers start establishing themselves on the point. No kills exchanged thus far, but Orsted does have this Death Blossom, but Dragon able to eliminate the Sojourn of Charybdis. Out of the field now is one of the DPS. Orsted uses the Death Blossom, and that's a little bit too far. Voltage will end up getting the kill on Iwatsuda, but Dragon finds that railgun shot directly to Orsted's head. But still, Death Cards are willing to invest into this. The grab and the Kitsune Rush are able to come out. Smackies ends up getting a face full of black hole. Voltage also able to eliminate Dragon here, and it looks like Death Cards will be able to bring this back into their favor. But as I say that, they're still fine on the Reaper and the Lucio of Ice Spirit trying to keep it alive. They're unable to, however. Death Cards get the flip back.
I mean, the fact that Crabby Crabbers was able to get the flip during that first fight is already massive enough. Ice Spirit, really with her preemptive boop onto Orsted, just denies any value from the Blossom right away. And coming into this next fight, there really is only the beat from Placebo to deal with both, well, with the 4 ults incoming of Crabby Crabbers.
Yep, Dragon starts off the ult engage with the overclock, lands the headshot right onto Charybdis, but Death Cards start making their way into the backline, trying to find some more picks. Fine now taking a different aggressive angle. Dragon finds another headshot onto Delphi, so that eliminates one of the heals, and Voltage dead now. Dragon has found 3 in this fight, trying to go for 4, but Orsted gets finished out by Iwatsuda, and it's going to be the flip once again in the favor of Crabby Crabbers.
Crabby Crabbers managing to take the flip, and with, you know, percentage to spare, they made sure not to rack up any more percentage, because by the time this next fight hits, There can also get to that 60%, and they still have ults in the bank. They've only invested that overclock and that window, which is such a massive play, right? Especially when you have this grab.
Yep, grab comes out here from Iwatoda. Not a lot of damage done at first, but fine. Unleashes the Death Blossom, gets rid of Charybdis, but Orsted able to finish out that Reaper, win the Reaper neutral here as Crabby Crabber's trying to find a way to try to win this out. Ice Spirit uses the beat, which helps with the engage. Delphi ends up dying to Smackies here as Crabby Crabber's still looking to try and settle this out. Voltage and Orsted are still alive, but now with Orsted taking a railgun shot is going to be the Death Guards retreating.
Death Guards will have to retreat, but if there's anything that they won from there is they managed to get out three of the biggest ults of Crabby Crabbers to deny any of the push and the value of the incoming grab, railgun, and Kitsune Rush.
Yep, the overclock comes in. The revving of that gun can be heard as Fine gets the kill onto Voltage, but no kills resulted here for the side of Death Guards. They're starting to struggle a bit. Iwatoda finishes out Charybdis. The Blossom from Orsted gets absolutely nothing. He dies in his own Blossom as the rest of Crabby Crabbers just cleaning up the point here. All the substances support. Delphi will be able to use that Kitsune Rush, and however, the overclock comes out from Dragon. Placebo will end up dying to Iwatoda, and it's going to be an even series here on Oasis heading into our final map on City Center.
Crabby Crabbers making those critical changes, right? They moved away from the Genji and the Kiriko and went to a Reaper Baptiste setup, which allows them to be a bit brawlier than, and I guess less fragile than the comp that they were originally on, right? And that provided them so much value in University. So, hey, great job. This is looks like it's going to be an even series just based on these two rounds. And coming to this next round, City Center, we do see the showings of the composition that they're running in Owl from the side of Crabby Crabbers. On the side of Death Guards, they've decided to stick to the Zarya composition that is, still viable in the current patch that we're on.
It is worth noting that while Overwatch League does have these Zarya and D.Va nerfs, right now here in the live game, we do not have access to those advanced schematics, so Death Guards sticking on to the Zarya, which again, as you said, is still viable, but Crabby Crabbers will start to get some advantage on the point, but the high ground has been taken here by the Death Guards. You see that Smack is trying to get a teleport there, but Iwatoda left all alone. Charybdis able to finish them off here, and now Voltage starting to push forward right onto the Kiriko. Smacky's there, barely able to teleport away. All that's left is Fine on the point, who's stalling out this cap here, but Death Guards will be getting that cap in the end.
I mean, stalling the cap, not really a smart idea, especially if you've lost so many at the start. Especially your Monkey, who really provides so much of the space and the shielding for you to push in. Coming to this next fight, no ults on the board really. Delphi will be probably close to this window, might get it mid-fight, and pop it during that mid-fight. Now, the question is how Crabby Crabbers want to engage his high ground. You do see Fine trying to make that big rotate from the jump pad, and sync up with Iwatoda, but clearly that didn't work as planned.
Yeah, things are not really working as planned right now for Crabby Crabbers. They're trying to get on the high ground, but there's just no way for them to be able to get up. And Placebo able to find that first kill on Fine here, so not a good start at all. You see, however, Crabby Crabbers, they did flip the point into their favor, but now with Smacky's going down, that point will not be theirs for a long time. Death Guards will flip it back into their favor.
I mean, there was that attempt, right? You synchronize a dive to the high ground to force out resources and the displacement. It's supposed to be a soft dive more than anything. To force out the resources. Now, some people may have overstayed their welcome just a bit too much. One way you could probably have played, the composition of Crabby Crabbers was going and playing from the side of cars, forcing the team on the high ground to drop. Because if you're contesting card on point, the point from high ground, it doesn't really work in City Center.
We'll see. Charybdis uses that overclock, and the Kitsune Rush is used here from Smackies as Crabby Crabbers continuing to try to find their way, and Ice Spirit able to get the kill onto Charybdis here, so that Lucio making a difference thus far. Crabby Crabbers still trying to find their way in. Iwatoda dropping a little bit low and will get bested by Orson. Now the Graviton Surge comes out for Voltage, and everybody's caught inside of it. It's going to be basically a team wipe here for Death Guards.
My question is really more than anything is like, what is Ice Spirit holding her Lucio beat for, right? You've seen the Grav get popped. Placebo also popped his beat. He also saw Overclock pop. The really only viable reason he would hold it is for Blossom, but then I think he should have just popped it way earlier.
Oh no, an Ice Spirit fell off the map trying to dodge the Blossom. Iwatoda and Fine also both dead. Nobody from Crabby Crabbers is going to be able to touch Death Guards. score the first map in this series.
Death Guard's showing right away that with their latest pickups and on their team, they're already getting so much value, right? They just picked up Voltage and Placebo this week, so this I think their first time playing with the team like under Death Cards. So the fact that they're syncing up pretty well already, especially with how they want to attack, just shows that even with these new pieces, it seems like Voltage at least has a commanding presence enough for them to make decisive attacks on where they want to fight, which on the side of Crabby Crabber seems to be slightly lacking. There's like sort of some not as missynchronization, dissynchronization, so that's how it's been looking like.
Yeah, definitely. It has been seeming Crabby Crabbers are just having trouble synchronizing with themselves, not knowing really what to set up with, and Death Cards have been able to do that really well with Voltage and Placebo being added to this roster just earlier this week, so definitely a good start here from Death Cards, but Crabby Crabbers get our choice of a hybrid map, so we'll see what they decide to choose here, and if it's going to be the decider heading into halftime after this, so we'll have to see. It is worth noting that this match is first to 3. The first team to win 3 maps basically is declared the winner. We do not play a 4th map no matter what, because it is the playoffs. Map differential does not matter as much as a single win. So, if Death Cards are able to get a 3-0, they have already locked themselves into the next round. So Crabby Crabbers need to try and stop Death Cards before they go into halftime with only 1 map needed to lock themselves into the next round of knockouts.
Right, and seeing the types of compositions that Crabby Crabbers is running, like, you're not really sure which of the hybrid maps they would want to go to, just because they've shown some signs of the Monkey, they've shown some signs of the Zarya, but it looks like, personally from what I've seen, the Zarya composition seems to be what works for them the most. I wasn't really too sold on their Monkey comp in City Center, but if that's something that they want to run with, maybe something like Midtown would work best for them, or maybe something like Paraíso.
I will definitely see what the map choice is here from the side of the Crabby Crabbers, what map they're going to be going for and what map we're going to be headed to. We do not have word on that, but we do have word on some other match scores. Of course, as we mentioned before the first map, Transcendence here is currently going through their playoff phase today. A lot of match scores are already coming in. Amnesia able to take the first map over Reckless Sigma, and Guangzhou Gangsters at match point versus Classified, 2-0 right now for the Guangzhou Gangsters. Lijiang Legion also took the first map off of Frost Fisher. So Lijiang Legion, the number 16 seed, the bottom seed heading into the playoffs, trying to pull off a massive upset over Frost Fisher to start off the playoffs here, which would be by far the biggest upset we've seen, because it would also be the lowest seed getting a win in Tranquility history, as we have never had a team that's been ranked 16th in seeding, or at least if you consider the fact that we usually don't have 16 teams on the same side of the bracket. We usually have different division brackets, but in Transcendence here this season, only 16 teams of the 18 moved on to the playoffs, but still waiting on that map selection here from the Crabby Crabbers. It'll be interesting to see what map they decide to choose here. Again, Thea, I mean, you hinted at it a little bit earlier, but of the map pools for the hybrid playoffs, which are Paraíso, Midtown, and Eichenwald, which map fits Crabby Crabbers the best? You're not going to be able to answer that question because Midtown is the map.
You know, I was going to say, right, your 2 options. If you're running that Monkey composition, I think you work best with something that involves high grounds, because you're forcing Death Cards into a situation where they don't play their Zarya composition. If you go into a map such as Eichenwald, it just enables it so much more, because just pushing the initial first point of Eichenwald, like, very enabled by like a Zarya composition. Now, it's really, but like the second point of Eichenwald, you could argue there is high ground, but like the rotations are so much easier to understand as it is a older map, right? So I've made this argument to like a bunch of people in my DMs. Sometimes the biggest challenge with Overwatch 2 is really how to rotate on the new maps, because as much as you could say, oh, you could run this composition, knowing the map layout and just knowing how to adjust based on the map, your map knowledge on it makes such a huge difference. And coming out of the gates, you see Death Cards showing something new. They're going for the Monkey composition that all teams are currently using. No, never mind. Voltage is tossing. Voltage. Okay, we're going for a mirror composition now with the flex supports being the biggest difference from both teams. The Baptiste though really shined for Crabby Crabbers, so I'm hoping that maybe this is a good answer for them.
Well, we'll see. Already a lot of damage being pumped into Iwatota there. Almost dies. Has used both of their bubbles here, which is going to give a lot of space here to the depth cards. We'll give them that first tick. Fine trying to stop the progress here for a little bit, but we'll start getting peeked out here. Crabby Crabbers trying to find some way back into this, but depth cards just have total control over this area, and those two picks are going to secure depth cards at this point. 5 minutes, 30 seconds on the time bank.
That card's very methodical, I guess, in terms of the target focus. You could see that everyone on the team was on the same target, so all the pressure was just too much for, you know, certain people got isolated, like Ito, and I don't think they realized that Orsted's behind them.
Dragon did actually see there was a bubble applied to Orsted there to keep them alive. So Dragon saw the Reaper there. No kill was confirmed, but now Crabby Crabber is trying to stop and the cards here on the Midtown Tunnel, but Voltage already finds the first kill on the Smackies, but Charybdis dies as well, so it's a back and forth affair, but Crabby Crabber's missing one of their supports, means that Orsted has free reign. Death Blossom gets 3 death cards, a team kill in the feed. It's going to be them pushing.
And this is going to be a bit rough for Crabby Crabbers coming in, right? You look at the ult bank and what they have to offer. Crabby Crabbers probably use Smacky's window to create space, but with the Kitsune Rush of Delphi coming in and the grab and, you know, 4 other ults, this is going to be a pain.
Window comes out from Smackies, but ends up getting denied immediately as Voltage has that beam, and also the Kitsune Rush from Delphi is just going to continue pushing Death Cards forward. No contest there from the side of the Crabby Crabbers. Another team kill for Death Cards, and they still have over 5 minutes to get to the final point of this map.
Has Voltage died?
No, I don't think anyone on Death Cards has died.
Oh, no. I know
one person died.
Charybdis had died, right?
Right,
But
I think someone else has died as well.
And Orsted might have died, but I think the support line and the tank line haven't died at all. And you can see Voltage setting up for this grab, and both sides do have an answer to these grabs coming up, but it's how do we use the speed?
Yeah, grab comes out from both sides. The beat comes out from Ice Spirit to be able to keep the team alive. Placebo uses theirs a little bit late. Death Cards still trying to go on the engage here as the overclock comes out here from Charybdis, trying to land any sort of shots to get that immediate headshot. Almost lands a shot into Iwatota there. Dragon trying to duel them out, but Charybdis will die to Dragon's railgun shot as now the Crabby Crabbers have found some stabilization. Now Voltage trying to escape with their lives, but it looks like it's going to be all for naught as Voltage will die to Iwatota here. And Crabby Crabbers get a hold. 56 meters taken by Death Cards.
You know, luckily, by chance, probably kiting, I guess, the ults of Death Cards. Crabby Crabbers manages to stop the snowball that Death Cards have. And, you know, they still have to hold this card, prevent cap for 4.5 minutes, but they do have 2 ults in the bank to buy them more time, right? Not unless this kill happens by Charybdis onto Dragon.
Yep, one ult already off the board. Dragon gets killed out with that overclock online. Fine uses the Death Blossom, and it just forces the Death Cards into this small room. They took a lot of damage, but the healing was there to keep them up. So now Death Cards trying to find their way back in. Orsted has the Death Blossom of their own, finds Ice Spirit, unable to get any sort of damage as they have to fade out, but now they come back in with the bubble. Comes on with the Death Blossom, not able to find anything. Ice Spirit actually finishes off Orsted here. So Death Cards trying to find some stabilization, trying to find some more kills here as they're trying to find anything. But Crabby Crabbers have the stabilization. Charybdis is dead again, and the Graviton from Iwatota is there for good measure. Another hold by the Crabby Crabbers.
You know, great kiting, I guess, from Crabby Crabbers to deal with Orsted's Death Blossom. I honestly thought they would have gotten caught out in it, given that they had used so many of their initial resources from the first push. But no, they managed to kite it and get the necessary picks, like such as Orsted while on the Blossom. Orsted does have to care for his life though and regroup for the team, and as they push, there's a window coming out from Smackies.
Yep, the Kitsune Rush also comes out here from Delphi, so both of Death Cards trying to push forward. Charybdis finds a railgun shot on the Dragon, but Fine has found 2. Placebo and Charybdis both dead. Delphi will be able to get the revenge here with the melee kill, and the Graviton Surge is there from Voltage. It lands onto 3. It's still possible for Death Cards to try and get an advantage, especially now that Smackies is dead. Ice Spirit speed doesn't seem to be enough to try and keep the team alive, as Death Cards will be able to push this card a little bit more.
And they do have this beat from Placebo coming in and the railgun from Charybdis, which means that they could just pop this to create even more space.
Beat comes out here from Placebo, as does the overclock from Charybdis. Crabby Crabbers starting to kite a little bit, trying to find their footing into this fight. You see Fine there on the flank trying to get a kill, but ends up getting killed themselves. Dragon also dead to Orsted, and nobody from Crabby Crabbers is there to contest. But as I say that, they contest, but now there's nobody. Nobody's alive. Only Ice Spirit and Smackies, but they aren't able to touch the cart in time. Death Card's capped, 2 minutes, 31 seconds in the time bank.
2 minutes and 31 seconds, honestly, with how much time Death Guards had upon reaching third point, that is honestly a decent, I guess, cut down from the 5-minute 31 time bank. 3 minutes shaven off, 2 minutes 31, still quite a lot, and Midtown does have the tendency to, well, be difficult to hit third point. So I think the biggest challenge right now for Crabby Crabbers more than anything is deciding how they're going to attack this with obviously time left in the bank. And you've seen glimpses of it from their players. Fine really coming in with like these huge kills on the back line as Iwitota is, you know, jostling the point with Voltage and the, you know, the supports that Voltage has. But at the end of the day, it seems like the picks weren't coming from the side of Crabby Crabbers when it needed it the most. But hey, they could prove me wrong this next round with Death Guards defending using the same composition, Crabby Crabbers still opting to use the same.
Yeah, we'll see what these two teams decide to go for. Which team's going to be able to come out on top. Crabby Crabbers, they need to try to push to the end of the map with time in the bank in order to have any chance of winning this map. Elsewise, the best they can hope for is a draw, as this is still the only drawable point you can have, or the only drawable map type you can have in competitive Overwatch. As Crabby Crabbers come out of the gate, same composition we saw them on. Death Cards, same composition we saw them on. It is basically a mirror here. Might have been Orsted actually flanking into the back there. Somebody was flanking. It might have actually been the Kiriko of Delphi based on the ult chart as Crabby Crabbers start making their way in. You already see a lot of damage going into Fine. The Immortality Field has to be forced out early here by Smackers, and that gets burned down. But Dragon finds the kill into Placebo, who is riding high on the walls here of Midtown. And now it's the second kill for Dragon. Dragon has finally wakened up, and they are burning flames across the field of Death Cards. First point will go to Crabby Crabbers.
As you said, right, Smacky's pops lamp, it gets burned quickly, so you'd think that would be like the best sign for Death Guards to come in, and that is the sign for them to come in. But what ends up happening is that they don't have Dragon in check, who at an off angle was getting that crucial picks for Crabby Crabbers, which inevitably gets them the point with, you know, a very healthy 5.5-minute time back.
Alright, so Crabby Crabbers, they unleashed the fire truck from the New York fire station, but now you see Death Cards starting to stabilize again. Smackies and Placebo dies, so no support. One support down for both sides. Fine still wants to try to find something here on this Reaper. Goes extremely aggressive in pushing the Death Cards back, but no kills resulted from it thus far. Now trying to get the kill onto Charybdis here on the high ground. Charybdis has the aim in ready, does have this railgun shot if they choose to use it, but Fine, just gonna back out. Crabby Crabbers will commit to pushing the cart instead.
Yeah, it took them 30 seconds to realize that no one was pushing cart, by the way. 30 seconds of the fight, no one was pushing cart, which, you know, would have been so valuable because that you could make sure your BAP was at a better position for that next fight. But now we see the picks coming up, and at the end of the day, Death Cards just clean sweep from, I guess, not the best positioning from Crabby Crabbers. But coming to this next fight, there is...
This is... I've never seen this positioning.
I've never seen this positioning. This is actually very interesting. Then they're gonna have someone on point to bait it, right? And then you just grab from my ground. Oh my god, that's such a huge brain play.
It is a big brain play, and the Death Blossom Remorse will clean up the field. Death Cards making use of the map telemetry in the best way possible, and they're able to get that sneaky kill onto Crabby Crabbers. The only person to survive that engage was Fine.
And like, Fine is fine, but hey, at least the fight was swift. You forced out Crabby, forced out Blossom. Only 2 ults on the bank for Death Guards, and Crabby Crabbers have fun coming. And that big pick by Dragon just seals the deal even further.
Yeah, you know what they say, if the strategy is gonna work once, it's only as a surprise. And right now, Death Cards trying to take advantage of that right now. They know that they knew the strategy was going to work the first time, but the second time, Crabby Crabbers expected it. They knew they were going to be up there, and that's going to be Death Cards having to retreat. Crabby Crabbers will start pushing that cart once more.
I think more than anything, right? The problem with using the same strategy again is like when everyone is doing the same positioning again. Because if you had someone on point, at least on the side of Death Guards, Crabby Crabbers wouldn't realize that there's still someone lurking on the high ground. Like maybe, for example, Charybdis, who, I don't know, has overclock right now and could just unleash it for this next fight. Though there is a window on the side of Crabby Crabbers.
You also have the grab coming out from Uatoda here. The beat is forced out by Placebo, but Charybdis able to find Dragon. Now Voltage able to best the Zarya counterpart here as Uatoda dies. So does find Orson. It's really just been a story of the neutrals, but now Voltage completes that with Smackers and Ice Spirit now dying. It's going to be Death Cards holding that card just a few meters away from point B.
Well, honestly, also a very good neutral, right? I think it was only Placebo's beat that had been used for that fight against Iwatota's grab. And I think they still have ults coming to this next fight for Crabby Crabbers. Pop the window, create space, or, you know, as the back Ds, just DPS, provide additional heals from like a slight off angle for your team.
Window comes out here from Smackies as they try to make the engage onto the high ground here, but Orsid has already found Dragon in the backline, and Placebo finds Smackies as well. Now all going wrong here for the side of Crabby Crabbers as Death Guards just clean up the field with this overclock from Charybdis.
So like, when we're understanding like how Midtown works, right? Especially the second point, it's pretty much your Gibraltar first point. We're trying to clear out the high ground is extremely crucial. But at this, especially to get through the car wash, the car does manage to get through, the fire truck does manage to get through the car wash. But trying to get this high ground when you're at an ult deficit and Death Guards has this Graviton Surge, poses a problem. So Crabby Crabbers' other choice is just push from main.
That is, I don't know if that's an unfortunate grab or a very good grab coming out from Voltage. I'm guessing it was supposed to land on the team members, but it landed directly onto Ice Spirit's noggin. He eliminated that Lucio immediately here, and that just forces a retreat here from the Crabby Crabbers.
Yeah, and like I'm trying to like figure out how can Crabby Crabbers just open this up for them, especially with the ults that are coming in from Death Guards. They do have this Blossom and this Kitsune Rush, and not looking too well.
Yeah, Ice Spirit seems to be melting a little bit right now with Crabby Crabbers not doing really good. Both fights so far, Ice Spirit was the first pick, and Death Guards right now are just being able to run over Crabby Crabbers. There's only a minute left in the time bank for the Crabs to push to point B.
And the challenge of that too is the fact that Death Guard is already further pushing up, just realizing that if they just control the doorways rather than just controlling the high ground, Crabby Crabbers is forced to use ultimates just to get out of their spawn. They do have this Kitsune Rush from Sparkies, and I think both of them use it at the same time.
Yeah, Kitsune Rush has come out from both sides here. Uatoda able to find Orson, but Delphi how it finds fine, so that Death Blossom will be offline here for the side of Crabby Crabbers. They need to try to push in, but Uatoda finally woking up, found two on this fight thus far, trying to find a third onto that Kariko of Delphi, and Dragon will be able to finish them out as Crabby Crabbers will be able to get back to this card. Only 30 seconds remaining in their time bank, though.
But that's a good stagger on the side of Charybdis, who is building towards that ultimate. So the fact that they can't do additional poke damage and will be coming out later means that Crabby Crabbers can take this additional space. They do have 3 ults, Grab being one of them, but there is no beat to help deal with the beat from the Grab from the side of Death Guards.
Yeah, there is not, and you can see the grab potential being unleashed there. Crabby Crabbers, the overclock, and the Death Blossom being able to finish out the Death Cards right now. Charybdis comes in for that last-minute stall, but it's going to be Crabby Crabbers capping point B. Still, they only have 1 minute and 30 seconds to get to point C, and they cannot finish in overtime if they want a chance to win this map.
Yeah, they really have to snowball this, but there really isn't any ults that they can use to snowball on the side of Death Cards. They managed to keep Charybdis' overclock because, well, they did die last at the previous 2 fights, and Orson does get that pick onto Fine right away.
Fine went for the aggressive engage onto Voltage and Delphi, but unfortunately was unable to get any sort of damage because of the double bubbles and Death Cards. Now they have control of Grand Central Station right at the entranceway. Crabby Crabbers, they need to come up with an answer quick.
And with you know, less than a minute left, they don't even have time to like to finish this even with time in the bank. They're banking now on potentially just leading this to a draw, and there is now a flanking Orsted on the back line of the Crabby Crabbers.
Yeah, but Placebo dies with the beat online, so Death Cards in a little bit of a disadvantage. That overclock from Charybdis only able to find 1 here, so Death Cards looking for some stabilization. 30 seconds left on the clock here for the Crabby Crabbers. They need to find answers right now, and there's a good one. Dragon finds the overclock. Dragon finds the railgun shot onto Orsted here, and it looks like Crabby Crabbers now pushing forward with this Kitsune Rush coming out from Smackers. Voltage ends up dying here, so that Zarya charge is going to be reset as Crabby Crabbers continue to push this card through Grand Central.
Yeah, Grand Central push, and that's gonna be the a grand push if they can do it. But with both support ults coming out from the side of Death Guards. This is looking slightly grim for them unless they can pick off both Delphi and Placebo right away. The Kitsune Rush providing so much value from them if used pretty well.
Yep, the Kitsune Rush comes out here. Crabby Crabber step off the cart for a little bit. Uwatoda, however, able to eliminate Charybdis. Fine, however, dies to the Reaper duel here as Orsted does have that Blossom online and will unleash it right on the cart. 2 kills for Orsted with that Kitsune Rush unleashing the Beyblade. And Crabby Crabbers, your trade has been canceled. Death Cards go into the halftime at match point.
Match point, and from the looks of it, Crabby Crabbers needs to take this halftime to find a solution on how to turn things around. The reverse sweep has to start on the next map, and you know, it's looking like Crabby Crabbers players aren't really on the same page on how they want to engage or more of how aggressive they want to push. So that's something that they'll need to talk about in this halftime.
They definitely will have to talk about it in this halftime. Crabby Crabbers right now on the pinch of being eliminated from Tranquility Gaming. Death Cards might have a chance, but it's all going to come down to after the halftime. Will Crabby Crabbers be able to make the ultimate reverse sweep to keep their playoff hopes alive, or are Death Cards sentencing them to the guillotine here and now? We'll see you on the other end of halftime to see who wins this match.
hesitation. I already know what you're saying. I love little conversations, and I don't want you to go changing. Cause girl, you're just so comfortable. Girl, you're just so comfortable. Girl, you're just so comfortable. I hope that you just feel it all too. Cause girl, you're comfortable and let's go. Feel so good just when I roll through. And I just think it's so crazy what you do to me. Girl, you're the baddest thing, you know that. And I really need you to show it. So turn around, let me get you on the Kodak. Girl, you're just so comfortable. Cause girl, you're just so. Girl, I love a situation. We don't spend time hesitating. And I wouldn't say we're crazy in love. I would just say we're crazy enough. Cause girl, you're just so comfortable. Girl, you're just so comfortable. Girl, you're just so comfortable. I hope that you just feel it all too. Cause girl, you're comfortable and let's go. Feel so good just when I roll through. And I just think it's so crazy what you do to me. Girl, you're the baddest thing, you know that. And I really need you to show it. So turn around, let me get you on the Kodak. Girl, you're just so comfortable. Cause girl, you're just so. We ain't gotta slow it down. Jeans on when we hit the town. We don't really care who's around. But baby, I'm with you if you gon' be down. Cause girl, you're just so comfortable. Girl, you're just so comfortable. Girl, you're just so comfortable. I hope that you just feel it out too. You're just so comfortable. Cause girl, you're comfortable. Let's just feel so good just when I roll through. And I just think it's so crazy what you do to me. Girl,
It's looking very grim right now if you are a fan of the Crabby Crabbers. They're currently down 2-0 and on death's door right now against the, ironically, the Death Cards. Bowsy here with Thea as we're heading into our next map of the series, which could be our final map of the series. It is an escort map that's going to be chosen by the Crabby Crabbers. Thea, what do the Crabby Crabbers do to try to keep their chances alive?
I think one of the things they need to do is potentially just shut down Voltage from just doing a lot. And from watching the gameplay of both sides, the DPS are, keeping up with each other with the damage they're outputting, the value they're also getting from their ultimates. It seems like the challenge now really is at that tank line, and to some extent, the Lucios. Ice Spirit has been caught out once in a while, like far too many times, I guess, during the Midtown map. And it did stop the push of Crabby Crabbers a bunch of times with her death. So hopefully, upcoming to this next map, which I haven't been given an update on what it is yet, Crabby Crabbers make some changes in their playstyle and maybe how they would like to play together, and maybe to enable their Zarya player in Ibutota even more.
Yeah, we'll definitely see if Crabby Crabbers are able to make these changes that could be pivotal to their potential comeback in the series. And also, other matches are coming in. It is now confirmed that the winner of this match will face off against Classified next week. Classified lost 3-0 against the Guangzhou Gangsters and are now in the lower bracket with 1 life left to spare. Amnesia also knocked down Reckless Sigma to the lower bracket. They won 3-0 over Reckless Sigma. Reckless Sigma now only have 1 life left, and they're up against the Billings Boomers next week. So it's going to be interesting already to see how these matches pan out here. And if one of these teams is moving on, the other's one being sent home. In terms of other matches where teams are going home, currently Frostfisher versus Lijiang Legion is tied up at the half, and Arctic Foxes have taken the first map over the Palm Beach Poggers. So this is really an interesting week to see, and we'll have to see if these results continue as we head into our series. Our next map's still being decided, as I can see if there's any sort of update. There is not, but eventually we'll be getting in. There are some technical difficulties happening over on one of these team sides, so hopefully we'll be able to get into the series once again really soon.
Yeah, Bowsy has given these updates, right, on the side of Overwatch Tranquility. Now, for all of those of you who are actually interested in what's happening in Overwatch League right now, which is currently happening, for those who are fans of one of the only pink-colored teams in the Overwatch League, Hangzhou Spark won against Florida Mayhem, and hey, the biggest matchup, I think, that we were all looking forward to, maybe in Overwatch League, is now happening with Seoul Dynasty versus Dallas Fuel. So if you're not here watching the stream, you could also catch and get some AL tokens over at the Overwatch League channel and YouTube.
But don't take that as an invitation to run away from Tranquility, because we still have an amazing match going on, and we might even have another match to show off as we get to hopefully finishing up this series soon. If this series finishes up in Map 3, we might be able to move on to a different series that might be a little bit closer and could be even more crucial for teams' chances in the playoffs here. Still waiting on that map selection. Obviously, the changes are like technical issues are a thing here, so hopefully we'll be able to get that map choice here from the Crabby Crabbers. But Thea, I asked you this before, you were unable to answer it, but of the 3 maps the Crabby Crabbers have to choose for Escort, Circuit Royale, Junkertown, Dorado, which map did they choose going into Escort?
Okay, so this has been my critique for Escort maps, is that they're all dive heavy centric, right? You have with probably your exception is Circuit Royale. If you have a really solid Widow player or any long range hit scan player on your team, Circuit Royale is probably the best pick that you have. Both teams haven't really shown if they have DPS players that are proficient in these hit scan heroes, because both teams have been playing that Sojourn, but no one really has shown if they could play maybe something like a Widowmaker or an Ashe. So we really can't make that distinguishing factor if Circuit Royale is a pick. Now, between what are the others? Dorado and what was the other one, Ozzy?
It was Junkertown.
Junkertown. I feel like no, loading in. Crabby Crabbers have opted to go with Circuit Royale, maybe showcasing that they might have a really decent Widow player on their team. Who knows? But
Mhm.
I'm waiting for the player screens to load in just to see if there are any swaps from any of these teams in terms of their DPS line, because Circuit Royale is played very differently from other maps. And looking at this right now, there is a swap on the side of Death Guards. Death Guards Voltage did so much work getting those first 2 maps for Death Guards. Is now being filled in by Dene, who is also a mainstay or like a familiar name within the Tranquility scene.
DNA, well known for their performance back on Season 7 Reminiscence, went over to Decapitators in Season 8, brought them to a really good standing in Tranquility that season. Now moving over to the Death Cards here, and is going to be subbing in here for Voltage, so we'll see. DNA, mainly known as a Sigma specialist, which is why we see them on this map, where we see both teams whipping out that Sigma.
Both Sigma teams have Sigma, and both have Widowmakers, Dragon and Orsted being their Widow players for the teams. Biggest difference though is Death Guard's running that really standard support line up for the Sigma. But on the side of Crabby Crabbers, they're opting yet again for this Kiriko. I'm not sure how they plan to have these 2 supports interact with how, Circuit Royale is played.
Well, both Widowmakers trying to find some sort of small pick to try and get the first pick, but no picks resulted from either side here as Crabby Crabbers start pushing up onto the high ground here. The Kiriko allows for a lot more long-distance healing, and speaking of long-distance, Fine hits a long-distance railgun shot right to Orson's face. Smack is also able to get the kill into Delphi, and now Fine finishes out DNA. So it's going to be a start push here from Crabby Crabbers, already looking better than the other 2 maps.
Yeah, this push from Crabby Crabbers is looking significantly better. I think you do point it out very well. Smacky's playing that Kiriko provides way better long distance healing, so they could just stand on the cart and provide healing from that distance. Really just matters for us. Iwatota has to play their life way better because of the lack of burst healing from a more heal based flex support.
Absolutely, as Death Cards trying to stop this cart before it heads into the first checkpoint. Orsted looking for a pick right now, but right now is missing every single duck in the field. Ice Spirit will eliminate that Immortality field used early here from Placebo as Crabby Crabbers trying to find their way into this push. You see Iwatota pushing up very far, but no kills resulted from either side. A good accretion onto Delphi, and Iwatota will finish out Charybdis because of that. So it looks like Crabby Crabbers starting to find their footing here. Orsted will find the headshot on the Dragon, but not without the cost of DNA and Delphi. And it's going to be Crabby Crabbers sailing this cart into the first point here on Circuit Royale.
Yep, they are going to sail it over for this point, but they did have to give up that graphitic flux to create that space. And coming to this next fight, Death Cards probably have more ults on the bank than Crabby Crabbers. So Crabby Crabbers does have to push this card to a significant distance and prevent and enable the snowball that they have. Because if there's anything dangerous about Circuit Royale's second point is if you can't snowball this, it's really hard to retake.
Continuing rush comes out here from Smack, but already 2 kills in favor here for the Death Cards with that window from Placebo. Really the difference there between damage and acceleration there. And you already see Death Cards cleaning up the field. They'll be able to stop that cart right by the first turn.
I think the struggle with, I guess, Kitsune Rush as an ult, right, is I think because it affects your movement, for some people, it also affects, like, I guess, how they aim to a certain extent. So a lot of people, at least like some teams, have struggled at least trying to adjust once they're like triggered by the Kitsune Rush, even though it's such a valuable ult. And you see that Crabby Crabbers is trying to retake the space with Dragon picking off Charybdis.
Yeah, Dragon actually finding two headshots on both DPS. Dragon finds a third on the Delphi as well. Crabby Crabbers waking up with this Widowmaker. Placebo will die to Smackies in the end thanks to that Infrasight. And Crabby Crabbers will continue moving this cart once more.
Dragon just popping off out of nowhere and just showing that they are very proficient in this Widowmaker. And like, Fine is actually holding up pretty fine while playing the Sojourn, which was initially Dragon's hero in the other maps, and now he's just pushing in with this overclock and getting picks.
Yeah, absolutely. Delphi also dies to Smackies there, so Crabby Crabbers starting to finally wake up when it matters the most right now. They're finding the picks, they're getting the push. Orsid has to switch over to Tracer to try and stall out the card for a little bit. The Flux will come out from DNA, will land onto Fine and Iwatoda. Both will die. The Transcendence not there to save him, but Dragon will eliminate Delphi right after they use their Transcendence. Fine will find a headshot kill on a Charybdis who is sliding across the point. Death Cards will be able to contest this card for a little bit, but so it might be a retreat here from the Crabby Crabbers, but still, Crabby Crabbers are doing a really good job finding these picks. Fine able to finish out Orsid here. This might be an inevitable cap from the Crabby Crabbers.
I mean, but with the shorter spawns of death cards, they're just going to get back up very quickly compared to Crabby Crabbers, whose backup is coming like from a farther spawn. So, at the end of the day, there really is no additional manpower to finalize the push of Crabby Crabbers, and they should just back off, right? They've expended probably their Transcendence in that one fight, and they might as well just cut their losses, prevent any further stagger, and just regroup and take whatever space they can take right now without giving up their lives. You could see already Orsted trying to pressure out Smackies from the back line, and Iwatota still trying to keep the space.
Yeah, absolutely. Crabby Crabbers still want to try to find the space here. The Immortality Field comes out, the answer from Iwatota's Flux, so no kills being resulted from that. And Charybdis finds Dragon with the railgun shot here, so Death Guard's starting to find some leverage once again. Ice Spirit, Iwatota, Smackies, all dead to the hands of the Death Cards. And Death Cards will be able to continue holding this card. 1 minute and 15 seconds left for Crabby Crabbers.
You know, I realized because as someone who doesn't normally push the card, I didn't even know there was a Mega there. In the room that Orsted had just came from after taking a clip out on Ice Spirit. Honestly, didn't know there was a Mega there, but coming up to this next fight, they pop Infrasight on the side of Dragon, maybe potentially getting a pick, none, but it provides great positioning on where everyone else is, which is great for this incoming overclock by Fine.
Here comes the Flux coming out here from DNA. Will wipe out Iwatota. Dragon, however, able to find the headshot onto Orsid here. So while the tank diff is going to be apparent here, or there's going to be one less tank on the field. Crabby Crabbers, so we'll try to invest into this. The overclock comes out here from Fine. The Kitsune Rush comes out here from Delphi, who switched onto the Hiriko earlier. Dragon finds the shot onto Charybdis, though, so it's going to be possible here for Crabby Crabbers to push, albeit they have to slow down for a tiny bit here.
I think there's a need to slow down the pace a bit, let your other teammates catch up, and at least like regain your resources. Kitsune Rush triggered by Smackies, hoping to create space for the Crabby Crabbers to re-engage.
Yeah, absolutely. That Mortality Field used early here from Placebos. Crabby Crabbers trying to find their way in. 5 seconds remain on the clock for them to try to cap the second point. Transcendence is forced out here from Ice Spirit to keep alive Iwatota as Crabby Crabbers try to push it in. Fine finds the railgun shot onto Orsid here as they're trying to keep pushing this forward. The window comes out from Placebo, trying to pump in more damage and healing into DNA, who is right into that front line. Death Cards trying to keep it alive, and Charybdis finds 2 with the railgun, 3 with the railgun for Charybdis. They've saved this fight from total disaster. Death Cards will be able to hold the card right outside of point B.
You know, honestly, half of that was really just, yes, Charybdis like got so much value from, I guess their ult, but the fact that there was just like a Baptiste window that just enables it so hard, just makes it so much easier to clean up, and that's just really good ult comboing from the side of Death Cards to stop Crabby Crabbers from fully capping the second point of Circuit Royale. Now, as I said, that's always been the challenge of Circuit Royale. If it's not being able to cap the first point, it's really also capping the second. I think third point's the one with like probably the biggest potential to like snowball and like finish it. But second point is really a struggle to take back once you've lost momentum. And just from that, you know, attack of Crabby Crabbers, that shows a lot. Coming on to this next round though, with Death Cards doing their attack, we're seeing both sides do potentially a mirror. Crabby Crabbers sticking to this defense composition of theirs of a BAP Zen. On the side of Death Cards, same thing. So we're looking at a mirror matchup, which a lot of this is just going to be about not just positioning, but the ult usage from both the teams.
Absolutely is now. The gates are about to open here for the side of Death Cards. We'll see if they're able to push that card farther than the Crabby Crabbers. Crabby Crabbers have one job in their hands, and that is to try to hold this to keep their season alive. Orster going to be going for a little cheeky flank. Doesn't hit the headshot, however. That could have been crucial for Death Card's success here, but still, the cart will start moving a little bit as Crabby Crabbers holding this far high ground. Delphi right there on the high ground gets pinged out and gets killed out by Ice Spirit. Beautiful ping system there to be able to initiate that kill, and Iwatota finishing out 2 is going to give Crabby Crabbers a hold here on that first corner.
Yep, and, the initial pick onto Delphi provides, less damage from the side of Death Cards, who, rely on that Zen to pump out a lot of the damage. Now, Dragon holding the same angle that they have down on main low ground, so, usually that's where the fight between the Widowmakers are, rather than the Widowmaker poking from the high ground.
Absolutely, as Death Card starts pushing forward here, they're trying to get that cart moving once again. You see that obviously DNA is starting to push a little farther here as Crabby Crabbers still trying to find some picks. Immortality Field is expense here from placebos, so obviously one big disadvantage here for the side of Death Cards. They continue to try pushing forward. Dragon gets picked out a lot here by DNA, who's also taking a lot of damage for their own. No picks expended on both sides here, but now Orsted finds the headshot on the Dragon, eliminates that Widowmaker, which is a big threat here for the side of Death Cards here. Starting to push forward once again. Now Smack is out of the field, and one support down for the Crabby Crabbers. They have to retreat now, and Iwatota's death is going to confirm that retreat.
I mean, you could see from the POV, Iceberg has just buckled themselves out and hoping to regroup with the team and not get staggered any further, but she manages to do. Coming up to this next fight, though, there is a potential for recontest, especially with Ice Spirit having this Transcendence. As much as you'd want to save it also for the Flux, which is a better idea of how to use it. Unfortunately, Placebo pops Lamp early, but wait. Yes.
Okay.
I'm like, Death Cards is just getting all the kills.
Yeah, they are. Death Cards is getting all the kills in the kill feed. Smack is able to get the kill onto Delphi, but the first point already capped here by the side of Death Cards, and now it's only 88 meters away from Death Cards taking this series and moving on to the bracket. Crabby Crabbers, what do they do here, Thea?
Like, for one, you need to take the space you need to fight for the space that the Death Cards is trying to take, right? And that means having to use ultimates like this window of Smackies to create space. It needs to be a trade of ults, but there's also maybe this pick from Fine that might create an opening.
Absolutely, the Transcendence comes out here from Ice Spirit to protect against DNA's Flux, but Delphi finds the headshot on Define while they were using the overclock. All the ults pretty much expended here from the Crabby Crabbers. The only thing left is that window. The Flux needs to be big here from Iwatota, and it won't. No kills resulted from it. Placebo will die in the aftermath, and Dragon's able to find out Delphi, but there's only the Widowmaker and the Sigma left. Crabby Crabbers are still trying to run back into this fight, and that cart is approaching 88 meters.
Dragon manages to get Caribidus. Dragon gets Orsted. That's both DPS down for the side of Death Cards. And, there's that. Those picks are enough to stop Death Cards from fully, pushing the cart even further. That slight overextend from Caribidus to kill Iwatota, got punished by, a shot to the cranium by Dragon. And the picks right after the other just made all the difference. Now you see a swap into the Orisa by Iwatota, maybe just planning to brawl it out, which is always a good plan against a Sigma who really isn't the most brawliest character.
Despite that, however, Sigma does have good pick potential and already finds the kill on Define before the fight even begins. Crabby Crabbers in a disadvantage. They need to try to find some sort of advantage here, but it looks like they're just going to be backing up. That cart's going to be once again in the realm, and Orsted gets the jump shot to Dragon as well. Now the one pick potential is gone. Iwatota drops extremely low on the Orisa. Delphi finds Ice Spirit as well. No supports left. Iwatota will fall. Death Cards will get this cart once again into their control. Caribidus finds the railgun shot to Define. Delphi dies, however, but I don't think anybody is there from the side of Crabby Crabbers, and it looks like they are indeed not. The final card has been drawn. Death Cards will be able to take the pot for their own. Crabby Crabbers, they fold their deck, and they leave Tranquility in a stunning fashion.
Death Cards showing that the pickups that they have made within the past week have proven to give so much value for them right away. And I think a portion of it is really just these people have played together before, so maybe it's just really bringing out old synergy is as an emergency, I guess, tactic to, get I guess their first win in such a long while.
Absolutely. Death Cards finally getting a big win here. Obviously, a very rough stage 1. They went 2-1 in stage 2. Their only loss being the Billings Boomers. But now they're able to come out and eliminate the Crabby Crabbers, send them home onto a deserted island somewhere where they're just going to be crab riving for the rest of their season, or at least the rest of the Tranquility season. Crabby Crabbers had a very strong stage number 2. They looked like they were finally starting to wake up, but at the end of the day, they just weren't able to manage against the Death Cards, and unfortunately, they'll be making their unceremonious leave here in the tournament. Congratulations to Death Cards, though. They'll be facing off against Classified next week to continue their playoff run. Now, as the dust is settled here, Thea, I need to ask you, who's your player of the match from the side of Death Cards?
Honestly, on the side of Death Guards, a lot of like the snowball potential from them on the first 2 maps have to be because of Voltage. And so I would be giving it to Voltage for that, just a stellar performance on Midtown and was it Oasis? Yeah, on Oasis. So honestly, my player of the match goes to him.
Voltage definitely did a lot on that Zarya, but you have to look at the DPS line for this team, and I have to look at Orsted on that DPS line. Orsted really did a lot, and it was those picks that Orsted was able to find alongside Charybdis that were able to guarantee this series for the Death Card side, so I have to give my player of the match to Orsted in that case, but that is it for this match. However, there are still Transcendence tier matches happening as we speak. So, we're going to jump to a quick break. And when we come back, we'll hopefully be live with another match here in the Transcendence tier to see who else is going to be making a playoff run in the lower bracket. We'll see you after a quick break. Welcome back, everybody, from that short break. And as you can see, our match that we're going to be watching is Arctic Foxes versus Palm Beach Poggers. We mentioned it earlier. This is another match where one team goes home and the other goes on to the next round of the knockout brackets. Bowsy once again joined by Thea here. And already you see Arctic Foxes up 2-0 heading into the third map in this series here, Thea.
Yep, they're up 2-0, but before we get into this match even further, just some score updates. On the side of Frostfisher versus Lijiang Legion, it's currently at 2-1, so that is match point for Frostfisher unless, Lijiang Legion managed to pull something off. But right now, we're with the Arctic Foxes and the Palm Beach Poggers both having something to prove to, the different people of Tranquility. Arctic Foxes being one of the few teams who actually beat Devil Dukes back in stage 1, much to the dismay of Devil Dukes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also worth noting a player that was well known in that match for helping Arctic Foxes beat Devil Dukes was Scene, and they were recently added back onto this roster. So is the Arctic Foxes run alive and well? Are Arctic Foxes making it far in the lower bracket? Well, I mean, first they have to get by Palm Beach Poggers, and we'll have to see if they're able to do that on our third map here of the series.
I mean, Palm Beach Poggers is like both of these teams are familiar names in the Tranquility scene. Arctic Foxes has always been the Transcendence tier team for the Foxden organization. Palm Beach Poggers, on the other hand, initially made their debut on the Harmony tier back in season 7. Back in season 7. And now they're in Transcendence tier with some players who were in that Harmony team in this roster. So managing to keep up one way or another against teams on the Transcendence tier. But will their match against the Arctic Foxes be the end of their, showcasing? It's time to find out, because they gotta win this next match in order to even have a chance to continue on in the Tranquility tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned obviously Palm Beach Poggers having some of the players from that Harmony team. Every single player on this Palm Beach Poggers roster was in season 7 for either Palm Beach Poggers in Harmony tier or Miami Yikes in Harmony tier. So they obviously have grown a lot since then, have been able to make their way in. By the way, both of those teams, sister teams, Palm Beach Poggers and the Miami Yikes. So they're able to really show that their prowess could be exemplified here, and both teams have shown both teams obviously having a lot of history, albeit Palm Beach Poggers, not a strong start to the season. To my knowledge, they have only won 2 games. And I actually had to look that up. They've only won 2 games. Their first one was to Lijiang Legion. That was a 4-0 win, and the other one was a bye-week win. So it isn't looking good for Palm Beach Poggers when you have the Arctic Foxes being an even 4-4 this season.
Yeah, I was also going to say the fact that Lijiang Legion right now is playing up against Frostfisher, who has been in a jostle with against Arctic Foxes with an even match score against them. I think it's competitive, but the fact that if you're being wrecked by Arctic Foxes right now means there's some changes that need to be done for this next map that they're entering into. Is there any update though on what map we are entering into, Mr. Bowsy?
There is not an update. The teams are taking a little bit to choose a map. It might also be because they technically are in halftime. So they're definitely taking a little bit of time there. What I can get an update on, however, is our schedule later this week, because we have time to give that. Never mind. The map is already chosen. Circuit Royale.
We're back here, Bowsy.
We've just been here. Now we're going back. Oh, yeah.
I didn't ask for my double race cars today. I'm like, I wasn't expecting a NASCAR race today, okay?
Listen, you're getting your doubleheader weekend and you're going to like it.
Oh my god. We could have, but okay. To be fair. Circuit Royale is probably the most different out of the 3 maps in the Escort map pool for Tranquility, right? You have Junkertown and Dorado. Dorado is more divey, right? And on the side of Junkertown, which kind of ends up being long range hit scan with a bit of dive in it, so it kind of ends up being a free for all, which is very different from Circuit Royale, which is just ends and limitless high grounds that you could poke from. So if you look at what both teams are coming out with, well, we're not surprised, are we, right? You have your
No.
double hit scans in the form of Window, Sojourn, your Sigma, and your Baptiste. The only biggest difference, Slick coming out on the Kiriko and Exu on the Zen, who Exu really has really grown as a Zen player, I think, back from when he started out in Harmony and is now playing in Transcendence here.
Yeah, I feel like I'm having a little bit of deja vu here with both of these compositions, regardless of which Arctic Foxes are on the defense here, looking to try to find that pick here with Wolf on that Widowmaker. And once again, we see Virgo setting up in the exact same room that we see in the Widowmaker. I swear, are we just watching the same map all over again that we just saw? Regardless of which, Arctic Fox is going to be holding at this corner right now, forcing the Palm Beach Poggers a little bit back, waiting for that first pick to come in from either side.
I mean, to be fair, this is not truly a mirror match of the fact that Exu is actually playing on the low ground and not where Delphi was playing back at stairs. Just means that there's a little bit of a different interaction, but Marcel manages to pick off Turbo right away, and that stops the push of Palm Beach Poggers with no front line to protect them from the hit scans of Arctic Foxes.
Yeah, really no front line to protect you here, so Palm Beach Poggers having to reset, but I mean, what happens in this next fight is both teams obviously building up toward this next fight here, Thea.
I think you have your Flux coming from Relapse, and that forces Aloe to save, I think, her Zap for, the incoming Flux, unless it gets rocked out by Turbo.
Yeah, Turbo, good rock there to cancel out Relapse's Flux, but Virgo was dead there. Both of these snipers for the Arctic Foxes finishing him out. Aloe also dies here to Wolf, so Arctic Foxes finding the picks that they need. Wolf finds another one on the Turbo, and it's going to be another hold here for the Arctic Foxes. Only 35 meters taken by Palm Beach Poggers.
Palm Beach Poggers I think they need to change how they want to do this, right? The Circuit Royale is a very long-range hit scan type of map, and if you really don't have the DPS that, can match up, I guess, with the hit scans of the enemy team, you might opt to change, I guess, the DPS line you're running. Or you could just probably just in onto the Sigma with a Brawl composition, right? There's nothing wrong with doing it. It just doesn't work once you hit second point.
Aloe uses that window to try to push Palm Beach Poggers forwards. The Transcendence also comes out here from Exo, so they're trying to invest fully into this. Haru does die here to Virgo, and now Virgo finds another headshot to Slick. No supports left here for the side of Arctic Foxes, and now it's going to be Palm Beach Poggers finally finding their footing and starting that cart movement.
I think the more ults on the side of Palm Beach Poggers is what made the difference, right? The Flux from Turbo gets so much value. You also forced out Haru's Lamp pretty early on, so that there really wasn't anything to save them from the Flux afterwards. Because if you think about it, the Kiriko ult Kiriko Suzu doesn't really, quote-unquote, heal you. It only, saves you for, a brief second.
Right. It's even less than a second. It's 0.75 seconds, so that Kiriko ult just only does that here as Palm Beach Poggers trying to finish out the cart push here, but Arctic Foxes are there with the recontest. Haru uses the window trying to separate the members here, and that window will be able to do enough, but Virgo finds the headshot onto Wolf. Virgo finally starting to wake up here on this Widowmaker. The Flux comes out from Relapse, lands onto Aloe, I'm pretty sure, but no kill results from it as Arctic Foxes still trying to find their footing here in this fight. Marcel has the overclock, will pop it here, trying to find some railgun shots to try and finish out some members here. No kills resulted from it thus far as Palm Beach Poggers still trying to find their footing. Arctic Fox is the same, but Virgo once again finds another crucial pick, gets rid of that Sojourn, gets rid of the overclock, and now finds another one onto Haru. Virgo is starting to finally wake up on this Widowmaker and might just get the first point here for the Palm Beach Poggers. Another headshot and a relapse here from this Widowmaker of Virgo. Stonky will finish out the kill on the Slick, and Virgo will finish out the kill on the Wolf. First points to the Poggers.
Virgo just popping out and getting that stagger kill on to Haru. That just means that wastes so much more time against Arctic Foxes. But, coming into this next fight, you do have those sides who, I think Virgo's probably going to pop it pretty early just to have a general idea of where Arctic Foxes wants to set up. Now, I want to know how Wolf plans to use this Pulse Bomb and on who, because if you can get value from it right away, that on especially a huge key target like maybe a Sojourn, maybe just the Widowmaker itself, you can stop the push significantly.
Flux comes out here from Turbo, lands onto Marcel there on the Sojourn. No kill resulted from him, however, but does force out the Immortality Field. Kiriko, Kitsune Rush comes out here from Slick on that Kiriko, and now the kills all going in the favor of Arctic Foxes. Make that 4 for them because of that Kitsune Rush, and Arctic Foxes will be able to hold here right by that hairpin turn.
Actually, that's a really good Kitsune rush from Slick, and I think what's actually amazing also is just the value the team got from it. I think, very compared to the previous match that we had, where both teams kind of struggled with how to use the Kitsune rush, or at least get value from it. This time around, it seems like Arctic Foxes know how to get value from it. Now we do have Transcendence on the side of Exu, who is probably keeping it in until Relapse uses this Flux, which hopefully they are aware that it's incoming. They do have this window, which would be a great way of just opening up space or preventing Palm Beach Poggers from pushing in.
The Flux comes out here from Haru, or not from Haru, from Relapse. Exu uses the Transcendence to keep the members of Palm Beach alive, but Virgo ends up dying somewhere throughout the midst of that. There was no ult expended there from the Arctic Foxes, so it's interesting to see how that Widowmaker got picked out. Nonetheless, Virgo now switching over to the Tracer here, as now the Overclock is popped here by Marcel, or not by Marcel, by Stonky, but it doesn't even matter because Marcel able to finish out Stonky there with a normal railgun shot, and Arctic Foxes continue their hold here and are forcing Palm Beach Poggers back down the mountain.
I think Palm Beach Poggers just needs to regroup, right? They've lost, they continue putting up a fight even when they're down, I guess, like 1 or 2 people, and committing ultimates. I think Alo's ultimate, for example, would have been great probably for the next fight, especially when, you know, they were still fighting with 30 seconds on the bank. Now they only have around 10 seconds. Someone has to touch. It's probably Virgo who is going to attempt that touch, and I wonder if they can get there in time.
Well, we'll see. Wolf has the pulse bomb, throws it right onto Exu, but the immortality field is there from Aloe to keep that Zenyatta alive. Slick also finds the kill on the Virgo here, so it's not a good start, however, for the side of Palm Beach Poggers. Now Exu is dead to the railgun shot from Marcel. The Kitsune rush comes out here from Slick. The Flux from Turbo finds absolutely nothing at Palm Beach Poggers. They're going to be stopped here right by the hairpin turn on the hill of Circuit Royale. All that's left is Virgo on the cart, but Slick is there to contest it, just trying to keep themselves alive. Slick is just emoting. The Virgo can't finish the kill on the Kiriko. That just shows how Arctic Fox is able to keep their Kiriko alive, and the support is really right now there for the Arctic Foxes.
You don't know what I just watched there. Like, the Slick was just standing there, and then, like, Virgo was just trying to kill them, and then, like, Haru just pops like, Kiriko uses, like, a Suzu for themselves before they emote, and then followed up by a lamp from Haru, and then, like, the pulse sticks, but, like, jeez, I really don't know what happened there in the last fight. Like, it wasn't inevitable, I guess. I feel like even if Slick had died right from that pulse bomb, it wouldn't have mattered, because, yeah, like, it would have been, like, a 1v4, so...
Yeah, I think even the funnier part about that is I'm pretty sure Slick was using the salt souvenir, so... that probably is just what Virgo is feeling right now after that. So, but nonetheless, Arctic Foxes.
I love that there's a salt souvenir right now. By the way, like I feel like the salt souvenir. I feel like the salt souvenir is for everyone now. It's like for amount of salt some people just become in like their comp games. So I think it's a much needed addition in Overwatch by the, I guess, game devs. But hey, let's see if Palm Beach Poggers can stop Arctic Foxes from reaching that hairpin turn. They really need to have a very clean first point defense to even have a shot at, you know, a push map. And coming out of the gates, same compositions from both sides. Arctic Foxes really wanting to keep this Kiriko, which has been getting them so much value, so I'm not really opposed to it.
Real quick shout out to our observers. 2 for 2. I've seen Virgo jump in the shot, but now Virgo's gonna be jumping back to spawn. Marcel finds the headshot right onto the Widowmaker, but Hexu finds the headshot on the Marcel. It's a trade, and it's gonna be a good one here for the side of Palm Beach Poggers. They're not gonna have to worry about that one-shot potential, but Arctic Fox is still pushing forward. Relapse being able to pick out Exu, and now Alo's dead as well. Palm Beach Poggers, their hold is looking worse and worse as time goes on, and Arctic Foxes will be pushing that card forward.
Oh, this is not looking good for Palm Beach Poggers. If they need to make this split-second decision of if they are still going to contest the cart, or if they're just willing to give it to Arctic Foxes, just so that Foxes don't snowball it. If ever they decide to contest, they could fight before, you know, it hits the hairpin turn. But it looks like, oh, Virgo tried to contest and just got headshot, or not really headshot, killed by Marcel.
Yeah, Marcel bringing that along the line. Also gets the kill on the Stonky. Goes for the jump shot. Almost kills out Turbo. There's a little bit of HP left for that Sigma. First point goes to Arctic Foxes here, and it's looking rough for the Palm Beach Poggers here, Thea.
Yeah, it is looking very rough for Palm Beach Poggers, and as there's nothing in their ult bank either to help them just create more space, they're going to have to like manually do it themselves, like drive push, I think is the better term for it. But hey, at least the box's victory of Arctic Foxes is so much closer to where Palm Beach Poggers is right now. And oh, that's a good rock from Turbo to cancel the clock, so relapse.
Turbo's rock there definitely saving the fight. Haru will die, but Etsu also dies to Marcel, who's been showing up on this Widowmaker in this map. Starts getting pressured out by Virgo, but Wolf able to answer with a kill onto Stonky. Now 2 for Wolf in this fight. Slick's able to finish out Virgo. All that's left is Turbo on the Sigma, and they have no support left to their name. It's only Slick and Wolf on the point, and that's all that they're going to need with that Kitsune Rush helping the team. Arctic Foxes will sweep the Palm Beach Poggers, eliminating Palm Beach from the tournament and moving Arctic Foxes to the next round of knockouts.
The Kitsune Rush is really, playing to the namesake of Arctic Foxes, of just giving them so much value. And at the end of the day, Arctic Foxes take this win against Palm Beach Poggers, giving them another shot at the championship bracket for the Transcendence tier. But they do have to face who are they facing next week, Bowsy?
Right now, Arctic Foxes are going to be facing Sydney Sunsets next week, so it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to take the matchup on, or if they're going to be able to move on to the championship bracket. But a really good showing here from the Arctic Foxes, taking home the third map victory over the Palm Beach Poggers. And also, Thea, you mentioned it before when we were heading into when we were looking at the match, but Frostfisher versus Lijiang Legion map 5 between the two. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go over to that, as they probably already have started their map 5 situation, but be sure to stay tuned to the Tranquility Discord server. We will be updating the results and the brackets when we soon can, whenever our graphical engineer Cavalier has the time to update the brackets, then he'll be able to show you who will win that match. Or at least whoever makes the graphics in this situation.
Apparently Aura is the one who makes the graphics this time around. So shout out to Aura for making all these graphics for us. And updating them for the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Aura actually helping us for the brackets here. But it's going to be interesting to see. The Transcendence Tier playoffs have just begun, and already we've seen a lot of interesting match scores and a lot of things to come. But there's still a lot more for Tranquility. That is it for us tonight, but make sure you stay tuned tomorrow as we have our Discord Tier EU playoffs match happening at 3:30 EDT, 8:30 Central European time, as they've recently ended daylight savings time over there. And then later that night at 8:30 Eastern Distance time, we have our Discord Tier North American feature match. Those matches are, if I can pull them up and find the sheet where they were actually listed, give me a second. There we go. Deathwatch versus Berserk is being featured tomorrow on the Twitch channel, and Adelaide Eclipse versus Vampires will be on the Twitch channel. Any other updates you can find on the Tranquility website and our Tranquility Discord tier, and our Tranquility Discord server, not our Discord tier server. I'm stuck in the idea of Discord tier because that is tomorrow. But that is going to do it here for our coverage here tonight. For Thea, my amazing co-caster, our amazing producer, Lagison, and our amazing observers, Hippie and Unfeatured, we thank you all for watching. My name has been Balzi. Until we meet again, we hope you have an amazing night.